Okay, there I am. Welcome back to Breaking the Silence. I see the gang's all here. Love having you guys here. I love when you file in during the warm up. That sometimes people, but not you guys, get annoyed with. I guess they're used to shows where there's a flashbang and then we start the show right away. But I always like to give people time to get in here and talk to each other because they're all friends. And don't forget to smash and hit that like button. There we go. Mary always reminds me. So Mary woke up this morning to some interesting stuff. But I wanted to start off by expressing my how annoyed I am by Wikipedia. Did I say that right? Do they deserve to have their name pronounced correctly? I really don't know. But how many of you have you heard about the recent activities regarding this subject matter with what are called the guerrilla skeptics? And the guerrilla skeptics have now basically taken it over, and they are trying uh, to insult and distort the truth about everybody that's on there that has anything to do with the subject matter. Have you heard about it? Well, I would highly recommend that you find other sources because, somehow the public thinks they're like the encyclopedia, and they're not. It's a bunch of yahoos, and they collect data, and it's, the public can put up whatever they want. But now our government's gotten involved. Whitley and I had a talk about this morning. He brought it up to me that they are in there distorting the truth, and they call themselves the guerrilla skeptics. And it's bad. It's just really bad what they're doing. And it's not only that, Whitley's website went down again this morning. That's the second time in the last few days. It was taken completely offline. Somebody's doing that. account with GoDaddy was tampered with. Somebody there does not like the fact inside of the GoDaddy, or some maybe from outside influences doesn't like that we have breaking the silence. So now Mary's having to redo everything. So if you wanted to send money into us, or that isn't going through YouTube, or if you wanted to buy something from our store, that's all gone now. So thank you, you bad people interfering with what we have going. And of course, Whitley and I are talking about what's next. YouTube.
Let me have your phone so I can.
So we're going to back
Steve,
up
if you have
everything. I'm sorry, honey. I'm on the show.
I know. I'm gonna take care of that.
Not my day. Anyway, so Whitley's website was taken offline, and we were having a good bitch fest on the phone. And we're concerned that maybe because some YouTube channels are disappearing because of bullying that's going on by people who consider some of us challenging to their large numbers, whatever it may be, or whoever's doing it, some websites or channels are going down. So I'm going to be backing up everything on this channel. Some of it is, some of it's not. Going to back it up. So if we have to, and we are going to get a website, and we are going to get a server, and we're going to get a server that's outside of the United States, hopefully in a country that will treat us fairly. There are plenty of them. Our own country will not. And be able to put all our stuff on there. So soon we're going to have a website. And I'm not even going to do anything on Facebook anymore, because it's just the same thing. The same stuff's going on there. So it's time that we take the reins and do what we can do. It's, all we're trying to do is tell the truth. And that's the worst thing you can do. If you're telling the truth, you're being honest, and you're not being had by advertising and money. Yes, we have ads. YouTube puts them in. I have no control over it. None. Do we see any money from it? If you think $200 a month is money, then you're poorer than I am. But as I've said many times, and it's starting to sound like a broken record, we're not in this for the money. We're in this because we are like you. I am like you. I've had these experiences. I think it's important. We're learning things about it. We're learning that this is not all about nuts and bolts and tin cans flying through space, coming here and abducting people. It's gone on to much bigger stuff. So, and they don't like that either, because somebody wants to keep it nuts and bolts and threatening beings from another world trying to take over our planet and impregnate our women and all that stuff. It's just all bull, in my opinion. For entertainment purposes only. So we don't have a guest because evidently, I don't think that Steve is familiar with how you get on or something, because we run into time to time when we do have a guest on this channel. And I'm being very distracted by what's going on in the other room, so I'm closing the door. When we have a guest on the channel, all the information is set from StreamYard directly to them, how to click on the link, and then you set up, you make sure your camera's working and mic's working, and that's about it. But evidently it didn't get to Steve, or I don't know what, because Mary's dealing with it in the other room. And sometimes this happens. Sometimes things screw up. So you're stuck with me for the next hour if something doesn't change. So I've had experiences lately. They've tapered off. Another thing really affecting my mood is the loss of Earl. And I haven't talked about him much at all on social media. There's plenty of people already doing that, enough for me doing it already. But I did share in community, because I don't think a lot of you are aware that how we met was that Earl came to our studio to go in front of our cameras very bravely, which MUFON did not approve of, did not like, And he told his story about his encounter, how he was taken from his bedroom when his wife was there. He told the whole story. We documented it. It's on video. I put it up in community so you can see it. And you can see what a fabulous human being this man was. He was literally, unbeknownst to you, the backbone, our backbone. He's the one who hooked us up with so many amazing guests and people, um, some which have become just dear, dear friends. And so, you know, that was Sunday that he passed. It wasn't that long ago. And we're all not happy about it and grumpy. Earl's fine. Trust me, he's fine. I know for a fact he's fine because I know what happens after you die. Absolutely, 100%. I do. I just do. And he's fine. And he feels great. And he's happy. But the ones that get left behind, even knowing this, it's still difficult. I miss him. Texting every couple hours throughout the day. I miss him calling all the time. I miss him being here in chat. I miss him when the show's done and we're going home and he calls us and we talk to him on the car. A speaker set up in the car. We did after every single show. And I miss going to the LA MUFONs. The only reason I went to those was to show support for him. And as a result, I met Dustin Eccleston, who we had on the show, which is another, he just knew wonderful people. And so, yes, he's fine and we're fine, but there's no replacement for him. And so it's been rough. And I've been pushing it back because I have to tromp ahead and keep doing shows. Yes, Dustin was great, and we're going to have him back. And I'm staying in touch with him because he's become quite a really great friend. So pressing on, I'm doing communion letters. And we did the people in the trees, which was a really hard one because it takes place in broad daylight. And none of it takes place at night. There's nothing moody about it. You just have all these strange events happening and they're in the tree. And so I went for sort of a cartoonish kind of drawing look. And it's okay. I'm doing the score for it. I'm still learning a lot about how to use the MIDI to make. I mean, I'm musically inclined, but it's another program that I'm learning as I go along, and it's fascinating, and I keep getting better at it. So the scores will improve. I'll go from being just ambient to actual scores. And so I've been at it real hard on the communion letters, the visitors in the trees. And it's short. It's not very long. Some of those letters read in 10 minutes. Others are longer. So, and we're just going to keep going through them. We don't have Earl hooking us up with wonderful people like Susan Alloway, who's here right now. And to come forward and come in front of camera and tell her stories. We don't have that opening. And even with all the people we know, and how many people know about us for breaking the silence, most of them don't want to come forward. And that's because of how our government and our materialism-oriented scientists and alleged authorities have shaped this, where people are terrified to talk about this stuff. Even now, it doesn't matter. I mean, stuff just keeps coming out more and more every day, more and more videos. I've been seeing them. And then Lou's holding up that photograph of that disc over farmland, which, that's a whole lot of nothing because it can't be verified and it could be easily faked. They could fake that in 2 seconds. So evidently,
He didn't
Steve
answer his phone.
didn't even answer his phone. So I think he's spaced on the whole thing, and it's not for lack of. I just told him today I had his drawings, and we are going to talk about tonight. I didn't hear back from him. Mary tried calling him. He hasn't answered his phone. So obviously something immediate and urgent has come up, and so we don't have him. So this is sort of an open mic for Steve. I do know we have some really great guests coming up, and Whitley. I had an idea back a while ago after Whitley had Reverend Michael Carter on Dreamland. I don't know if any of you saw that. I put it up. I highly recommended it because this is a man who can bridge the gap. He's a wonderful human being, the Reverend. He's bridging the gap between the religious community and this experience and putting it in a context and a philosophy that makes sense for everybody. And I was quite taken by the show. So I called Whitley up after that and I said, that guy's really amazing. You guys are great together. I'd like to have him on the show. And then I said, I'll do one better than that. I want you both on the show so we can both talk to our community about this stuff because there's so much resistance. And he agrees with me. That people are really resistant to move out of the nuts and bolts. They're here to abduct us, make hybrids, take us against our will, threatening monsters from space thing, and moving into, I'm sorry, I'm rather blunt, all right? And moving into the issue of consciousness and higher vibration and just all the amazing things that we have learned recently between kids that are telepathic, books that verify life after death experiences, and Whitley's book, The Fourth Mind. I read the book, so I can say what's in there, if you haven't read it, will challenge your way of thinking about all this. There's a very good chance that autopsy document that was released is authentic. We both have very good reasons for why we believe it's authentic. Or it was written by someone who knew what the gray bodies were really like, what they were really designed for. They knew about the feet. Most people don't notice them or don't have a memory of what they looked like. The hands are accurately described. It's all there. But the thing that's mostly there is that they're really not the intelligence that we're dealing with. They're designed by the intelligence we're dealing with. So I saw that the first crash retrieval was in Italy in the 1930s. That may be very well true, Rachel, because I'm trying to remember, was it Richard Dolan? I can't remember who it was. I've got to find it. There's this video of these two older women on YouTube that were filmed back in the 90s by a UFO researcher, a very good one that I keep drawing a blank on. And they describe in 1932 or 35, their father coming home and telling them what he was shown in a basement laboratory in some building where there were two containers holding bodies. And he described them rather accurately. And these older ladies must have been their late 80s or early 90s. And they were so matter of fact about what their dad had told them. It's hard to imagine. Oh, it's Steve. He says he's having issues. Sorry, Steve. Anyway, so it's very possible that this has been going on for a very, very long time. So it's said that none of the crashes were because we shot them down. We may think we did, but we didn't. They were deliberate. We had access to their bodies to know what they're made of, and we were access to their technology, although we weren't technologically advanced enough at the time to even decipher what a lot of that technology was capable of, because we didn't even have electron microscopes back then. But all of a sudden, after electron microscopes were available and other instruments that were able to look very closely at the debris from these crashes, we had LED watches in 1971, and then I think 72 or 3, correct if I'm wrong, we had Texas Instrument calculators, and a few years after that, we had the first Apple computer that you built yourself. Then we had the Apple II. Then we had the Commodores, and the Apple, was it the Apple? It was the box Apple, and it just accelerated so quickly from that point. You got to think about it. It's like up to about 1900s, we really hadn't changed much. I think we had light by then. Oh, I think I see Stephen. We had electric light by then, and a lot of other things starting to happen. But after the 40s, things really accelerated quickly. For thousands of years, we had oil lamps, candles, and horses, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, in less than 100 years, where we're at now. So I see Steve still trying to get in there. There he is.
Hello, hello.
Well, oh, there you are. Yeah, I can hear you.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Well, I'm trying to get the video to work, but for some reason, I've had to restart the phone a couple times. It's why Mary called me and wasn't able to get a hold of me. I apologize.
Okay.
For whatever reason, the camera is blocked. So this is what I've got for right now.
Okay. Gonna have to do. I can hear my voice on your phone. But
yeah, I've got you. I've got you on the laptop, but I have to turn it down. Otherwise, there'll be too much on your phone.
Yeah. So I'm hearing my voice from the laptop. So, well, Stephen, welcome to the show.
How's everybody doing? How's your week been?
It's been okay.
Yeah. A lot of interesting stuff came out.
Yeah, I haven't been paying that much attention to it because we've lost some.
Well, an interesting thing came out on Jeremy Corbell's weaponized program.
I saw it.
Yeah, did you see the part where he was talking about the triangular ship that came across the Russian?
Of course.
Yeah, and how he was speaking about how the ship materialized. It just appeared. He called it cloaking. Yeah, he stated that it was cloaking, but it just like appeared. And yeah. I found that interesting that he also said that he couldn't verify either way, whether it's ours, theirs, or others. But there was no indication.
It's not
well, you know, I'll tell you, I just kind of, I go through it and I think about the possibilities, and I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful that it isn't ours, because if it is ours, then the implications are we've been left behind, and they're doing what they want to do, and we're supporting it. Well, which is
that's certainly true anyway.
Maybe yeah,
not but of everything. We are had not by aliens from space. We are had by our own nasty, rotten people, and have been.
And isn't that sad to think that our own kind has sold us out?
Well, they're the real enemy, aren't they? I mean, from my perspective, you know, everyone talks about, well, I've been abducted against my will, and actually, most of the people that comment that way, they will say anybody that takes you against your will is wrong, and these are people that haven't
Oh,
had experiences, but it's all about them, isn't it? So
can
they're
I
not looking.
just say this right off the bat? How thankful I am at all the views and all the comments and the kindness that people have shown, and how much it really means to know that it's accepted. And there's a lot of people out here that are very knowledgeable, and I really do appreciate all the kindness and the gestures and the love that was shared. I thank you so much.
It was great, wasn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I only had it. There's only like a couple of people that said things I didn't care for, so I got rid of them.
Well, there's a couple on there that if they just read each other's comments, they would get their answers, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
You got one guy that's stating a couple of people where, well, there's missing time. We didn't hear anything about it. And other ones, well, you should speak a little louder and a little faster. I said, well, if they read each other's comments, they would be right on time, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, that's because they're used to other programming where everybody's very quick to speak, and it's really all about entertainment and showmanship. We're just trying to tell the truth, right, Stephen?
Well, the thing is when you're looking back at it, in order to explain the feeling, there's also being able to use words that everybody can relate to. If I go on here and I tell you that, yeah, you know what? It felt like my cellular molecular makeup was being torn apart and I was being, distorted in all kinds of directions. That's kind of a hard thing for people to relate to. But if you're able to say, you know what? It felt like real sharp pins and needles all over my body. I think everybody can relate to pins and needles.
Sure, but all the people that are here can relate to that feeling because we've all had it, that had this experience. Now, when I saw I've seen triangles three times, but the one that was the most impactful was when I was on the phone with Whitley Strieber, and I could not share it with him because he was in Santa Monica and I was up here in Ventura, and right before my eyes, this thing, it was like a heat wave, and it was all like it was decloaking, and it wobbled and it came out, and I realized it was a triangle, and it was still kind of cloaked, I think, because it had a really faint light at each corner, and they were twinkling, but I think that was a ripple effect, like, looking through a heat wave. And it was so dead silent, and it was huge, and it was shot right across the sky, right over the city, where everybody who could and wanted to or was bothering to look up could have seen it, but no one saw it.
There seems to be like, this was my first time ever seeing anything or hearing anything like a triangle. Everything that I knew of growing up through, everything we were shown, television, radio, all that stuff, everything was referred to as a flying saucer.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And now these things are everywhere, and there's so many different types of interpretations of them. Are they the same ship by the same whoever cloaking and developing and shift changing, or are these just different types of ships of different types of beings?
I don't think any of us know.
Well, the picture, the picture that I sent you, that's the best interpretation that I have of a vision that I have. And this thing was pretty weird. And I struggled with being able to draw it. But the feeling that I got from it was very controlling.
Was that it there? Is that the picture, Steve? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
and I guess you would say the meeting that I had with this entity or whatever dealt with the fact that the way it talked was it told me how they communicate was with colors, visualization, symbols, emotions, and that our language would interpret, and that's how they were able to speak to so many in different dialects or languages, was because they went through the subconscious to do it.
Yeah, telepathy.
So this was something that there's so much more to it, but I was left with, I'm not sure if I'm having visions or flashbacks. I don't know if I'm daydreaming or whatever, but it's a lot of this stuff has happened. Like I said, the more I share, the more I talk about, and the more I release things that happen, the more different things that come about. And
Well, maybe that was always the plan, that the more you did that, the more they would give you, because you're receptive to it and you're open to it. So I don't know, this being
who's the
here,
they?
it looks vaguely familiar. It kind of reminds me a bit of Whitley Strieber's little hooded guys. You have some other ones here too. You sent me that one, which
Things.
is go ahead.
That right there is, and I'm still continuing to draw out, but this was a toroidal vortex that these three toroids braided down into one singular funnel. And this was kind of another vision that I had along with the being or whatever it was. But this thing here was it was a lot of information. Like I said, stuff that's been coming through. It's not like it slows down for my interpretation. It's just sent, and I got to try to figure out what it is and try to capture it and remember it. But a lot of it just happens at some of the most inopportune times. I've had situations where I've been driving and I'll have no idea how I've ended up someplace. And I'm talking miles. And I have had to call I have a friend that lives in, he drives for a limo service, and I've had to call him and ask for directions back to his house, because I don't know how the hell I got where I was at. And it's happened. It hasn't happened recently, but I've had it. It's tiring because it just happens, and there's no warning. There's no instructions. It's just boom, and you got to try to figure it out.
Yeah, it's really interesting looking at the in the chat, and Anne talks about that she's my whole childhood I've had nightmares about tornadoes outside my house. Yeah, I have too, and that kind of looks like a tornado. So maybe it wasn't tornadoes. But be sure to look at some of the comments, because you're going to get asked a lot of questions shortly. I'm moving on here to, people were really breathtaking by, the graphics that reenacted what you experienced. But I don't think any amount of computer animation can ever really capture that moment and what it feels like to you when you're standing in the midst of something like that. And and there's nobody around you. I mean, I had Whitley on the phone, but it's like you just feel so helpless. It's like, here's this proof you've all been asking for, since you're so hung up on proof. Everybody's hung up on proof. Give me some solid evidence. You have no evidence. Here it is, and you're the only one seeing it.
Well,
And
and
no one
and
else
it,
can
and
see it, and you're screwed.
yeah.
The minute you tell somebody, they're gonna go,
What do you say?
"Yeah, you were dreaming, right, Stephen?"
Steve, you sure you had one beer? Is
Yeah.
that all it took? I'm like, listen, man, I
I
have
got
been
rid of
shit
that guy.
faced.
He
I've
said,
been
"How many
shit
beers did
faced
you have
many
again?"
times.
He went
And-
right out the airlock.
If that's what beer did, I would still be drinking.
I hear you.
Are you serious?
I
I laughed so hard about that. I was like, oh, come on. But the thing is why you've said it many times. Yep. You've said, you ask yourself, why me, right?
You just,
But the thing is, it's not why me, but it's so much as it's
Stephen, they just don't get
how is it? Why would you leave the rest and take away 6 hours or whatever? Why allow me to remember anything at all? And then it's the, well, if I didn't have the argument and we went to bed together, was there a separate plan, or was it just dumb luck? And they went, oh, look, yeah, he's outside. Don't get the other indoor beam. We'll just pick him up. Or did they fly by and go, hey, let's screw with this guy tonight?
It's possible they do that sometimes. Overall, I found after all these years that usually if someone's been picked up and they have no memory of ever seeing a UFO before that, or any kind of activity like that whatsoever, it starts to unravel. That you start to think back and you go, no, wait a minute. What about that night when I was only 6 years old and those lights were coming in my window and I just thought it was a nightmare, and so on and so forth. But it doesn't happen for everybody, but for most people.
I've had a few things that I've looked back on, like I said, I my whole childhood I sleptwalked, and I never paid attention to how my mother described it. And she used to say, you must have been sleepwalking. Not that she's ever noticed me. She didn't say, oh, honey, you were sleepwalking again. It was remembering the words that she said. And unfortunately, she's not here any longer. I don't have any way of asking her what she meant. But I used to wake up in places all the time as a kid. And my siblings, which, we all slept together in the same room, never saw anything. I would just wake up in odd places and not realize how I got there. I've had my mother, bless her heart, she had a lot of problems, and there were times when she really, I think, struggled with things that happened to her when she was younger. She never really could express it. But I heard from an aunt who used to help watch us when we were younger, and she had told me that my parents lived in a house in West Virginia. That's where my family's from. And when I came home from the hospital when I was born, the room that they had me in had paranormal situation. Stuff was flying around the rooms. So my parents, they sold the house, and she then talked about another incident that happened. I was about 1 year old, and she was in a traffic line heading over to my mom's house, her sister, and traffic was outside, horns were blowing, and nobody knew why traffic was. So she got out, walked up to the front, and there I was sitting in the middle of the road, not crying or anything. And Nobody could tell me how I got there, tell her how I got there. She picked me up out of the middle of the road with all the traffic. So, I mean, I've had, things happen to me pretty much all my life.
All the way up into 3 months ago.
Yeah. Well, there's things that happen. There's things that happen in the house now, but I kind of roll with it.
Yeah, we all do. Stephen, at this point, people are busting at the seams. I know they are because I've seen it in the comments, and I can feel it from them right now. Have you ever considered having regression therapy done with a good hypnotherapist, someone who's not a BS artist, but the real deal?
Well, that's the big thing, Steve, for me is they're a dime a dozen, and yeah. I don't want to sit in front of somebody and get bullshit.
I know. And it's like, who do you trust? And I know if you were out here, you could go to Yvonne. Yvonne, she's just by the book. She's like the kind of person the police hire to do hypnotic regression when people need to be able to remember who their assailant was and identify them and give more details to them. And it's very successful much of the time when they use that. And she's that type. But she's one in a million, I think. And a lot of them are also personally involved with the subject matter. Whereas Dr. Simon Benjamin, I think his name was not someone who had these experiences himself when he did that with Betty and Barney Hill. And it changed his life. It shocked the hell out of him. He had to conclude at the end that whatever happened to them must have really happened. There's no way they made it up. Then you have Bud Hopkins. Bud took an interest in this stuff, but didn't have the experiences in himself. And he didn't really get involved in the community till long after he had worked with many, many credible cases. Dr. John Mack, I'm sure you heard of him at Harvard, was probably one of the best. And also, a Harvard PhD that worked with people and kids who had described exactly what you're describing, and they did things by the book, and they got results. I'm starting to run out of people I can name, and I'm sorry if you're listening to the show and you are offended at all by the things I'm saying, but I don't know you personally, and if you're someone who's by the book and you're in Florida, someone who takes this very seriously, you might want to reach out to Stephen. That's my
absolutely. I would be 100%. I didn't know if it being so long, like it's been 14 years now, and it's taken.
But for somebody,
it's taken a long time for me to even just come out and openly talk about it.
Sure.
Do the regression therapy, you'd want to be able to vet them to do that.
I know people who still, I know them. They want to, but they're not ready. They keep telling me they're not ready. I'm close, but I'm not ready. It's really hard. I went on national television with Yvonne and Roger Lear and Whitley Strieber and said, this stuff was happening to me, and I work in Hollywood and I've done all these big movies and stuff. And I'm a regular straightforward guy. And I'm telling you, this stuff is real. And instead of people saying, oh, wow, instead they threw rocks at me and I'm a nutcase and all that. So, and it hurt my job and it hurt my career and it had the feds in my life and everything else. So I get it.
Well, like I said to one of the commenters, they made their comment. I said, just as long as you understand that I'm not a typewriter warrior. I don't tell people anything that I'm not willing to go to and talk to their face about. I mean, the other thing is that I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a decent guy. I do everything I can to help people. I'm not.
You do.
I'm not in this I'm not selling a book. I don't have any.
You wouldn't make any money anyway, but you should do it. Just so people can read about your story, that you want to share the information. You'll never make a dime, but it's a good thing to do.
I'm doing, all I decided to do is I realized that we have a time frame that, you know, this particular life that I'm in right now, this guy wants to be remembered for somebody that was on the right side of things.
Yeah.
And I want people to know that I'm sincere from my heart. And I didn't look for this to happen.
No.
It happened, and I struggled with being able to open up about it. But there comes a point where the rubber meets the road, and you're going to be who you are, and you're either going to be the person that took the steps to do the right things and let things fall where they may, and just be open about it. I mean, the one thing we all got in common at this point in time is we're breathing. So
Yeah.
we're all here together.
You
So
hope to stay that way for a while too.
what's the point of hiding it? What's the point in not living it? I mean, how arrogant are you to think that out of all of the creations throughout the entire universe that we are taught, that the living creator would only stop at one form of expression? And I believe that Earth is a place where we are the human expression of God. And I think that we are one of many different expressions. And I think the power that we truly have in the consciousness, I think that we are powerful creative beings of consciousness. And when we get a hold of that fact, then we get together and we realize that love and authenticity is the key. And we are able to control our creation and our reality through the thoughts and the emotions that we have with them. Once we learn to control that and we're able to express it in a way that creates a better reality and that we all come together with it, man, what a world we could have.
So you brought up the part one of the new whistleblower. I watched his face very, very closely. I have seen that look before in his eyes and his body language and everything, but it was pretty severe. He was scared. But like what you had to say is how he feels. He can't sleep at night sitting on this stuff. He can't. And I mean, and he knows how we're being screwed by our own people, and he can't take it anymore. And he's in a lot of trouble, you know, because he's violated, you know, his oaths, his security clearances, and everything else. He's put his family at risk. Any employment opportunities he may have are going to go right out the window. And you know, these people are saying, "Oh, he's just, you know, lying." Another one of these guys coming forward. They never stop to think for 1 minute what this does to your life. Now, I never worked for the Pentagon, and I never was privy to the Pentagon's top secrets, but I was privy to things that are considered top secret because I was with them on their craft or in their environment, and I know things that only the elite that are keeping this covered up know. And I think that drives them nuts that, you know, Whitley, you and other people have access to this stuff, and to them we're just peons. How the hell do we have a right to know these things? And it just ticks them off. This gentleman knows he's one of those people, but he's a moral human being. He couldn't take the lying anymore, so he went forward. He spilled his guts.
I think it comes
so
down
glad
to
see
something
George
that I've always tried to live by, and that's I'm
Do the
not
right
really
thing.
worried about the material things. I'm not worried about anybody's opinion of me. It's not my business what people think
Yeah.
of me. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that guy I look at every day in the mirror, and can I look at him with
Yeah.
respect? That's all that matters to me. I got to lay down. I have to wake up with that person every day, and I have to be able to speak to the truth, because
Yeah.
that's all we have is our integrity. Everything else, that all goes away. Who you are as a human being and a person, and what you stand for, that's basically all you are. And if you're on the right side or the left side, we all got to figure out a way to come together so that we can make something that's worth keeping. And right now, from what I'm seeing, our government, none of them, right, left, middle, none of them have our best interest at heart.
No, they don't. They don't. Well, I'm really glad you watched that. If Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp interviewing this new whistleblower, I don't even think I got his name. It was, I've seen a lot of this before, but this was really compelling because, they had him privately, I think at Jeremy's house up in Ojai, and having George Knapp there, who I feel is an extremely credible human being, and who really has our back. It was really a good environment. I wish Jeremy would lay off the swear words, but other than that, he was very good himself.
I
Yes.
think what it's coming down to is, I think people are waking up to the fact that our ability to communicate on a mass scale is our best defense against anything that they want to try to do to us when it comes to sharing the truth.
Yeah.
We got to have their back. We got to have each other's back. I mean,
Yeah.
So if somebody shares something with you, Steve, I'm breaking the silence,
Right.
and you're sharing it out there, and
Yep.
that's step one, step two, whatever step it is. It's an important thing for people to be able to get it out and to be accepted. That's the one thing that is really, like when I told you I'd gotten into a real bad situation, a near death situation. I woke up without being able to know if I was ever going to walk again.
Were you in a car accident?
No, I fell 16 feet. I broke my femur in 3 places. I burst fractured my spine, L1 through L5. Took me yes, I did. And it took me 2.5 years to learn how to walk again. I found my inspiration in my daughter, and the only thing I ever focused on was walking. So I know that is true. I know that if you have a singularity in your mindset and you place your emotions and your intentions on that it will happen. It may not happen in your time, but it has no choice but to happen. That's why I'm walking today.
Right.
But when I realized that I had no control, I threw a temper tantrum. I got all upset. I got angry. And you know what changed? Nothing.
Yeah.
It was only when I accepted that I was in that position and I got out of the way that things started to happen. And I think a lot of that also has to do with, being able to open up, get your ego out of the way, get your pride out of the way.
Ego out of the way. That's it.
And you know what? Open up, share, and don't care what people think about you, because you know what? You don't know what level they are. And
a lot of them can't think, so it makes it even less worrisome.
Well, the thing is like in the vision I had, it's a seed, and once that seed is planted, it may not take the effect that you might want it to take at the moment, but if it's been planted, then eventually it's gonna flower, and you'll never know who you'll lead into what direction, and open up. But you got to share it. We got to reach out to people. We got to make sure that we continue to build on the momentum that we have right now, because nobody's coming to save us, brother. We got to do this.
No, they're not. No, that's been made very clear. And if you had a near-death experience, then you know that even better than most people. Were you given the choice to go or come back?
I didn't. I wasn't leaving. I had somebody, I had my daughter. That's the little girl you see holding up the model.
Yeah, I know. She's beautiful.
I told her all about it. She thought I was nuts, but she believes me.
That's because she's your daughter. She's going to love you always, no matter
Yeah.
what.
She supports me. She says, okay, Daddy, if you say so, okay. But she was my inspiration. So no, there was no leaving. I had no intentions on listening to anything like that. I was coming.
How weird. That's his daughter and Stephen together. Well, hopefully he'll get back to us. So you can see clearly how this has shaped his life. But you know, he always was that person. But having these experiences, the near-death experience and this experience with the craft, and obviously, I mean, to me anyway, you know, you can't say for sure because people always nail you for it. But I'm pretty sure in those 6 hours, he had an amazing experience, and it's brought out in him who he really is and always was and probably always will be. Right, Stephen?
Howdy, howdy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that having that experience with the craft and having the near-death experience really amplified who you really are inside and brought it all the way to the front, as experiences like this will do, because it just opens your mind up to this bigger scope, this bigger universe, and what's really important. And you stated all the things that are really important, and I agree with you, and so does everyone here. So
Well, like I said, you know, when you die, nobody hears you.
yeah.
So why hold it back? Why? Who cares?
Yeah. No. Well, yeah.
You know, who cares if somebody thinks, I mean, here, if you truly think that I am crazy, and the definition of crazy is you are deranged mentally. If you think that I am a deranged mental individual, that I have some kind of mental disorder, and you feel like I need help, well, then, okay, how about, why don't you help me then? You know what I mean? Either this is happening, or I have got some serious mental issues and I need some help.
Yeah.
You know, so are you just going to be like somebody that you know, people say things without understanding what they're really saying, and when you say to somebody, you know, dude, you're crazy, you're nuts. Look, I've lost family, I've lost friends. I have people that have just don't want nothing to do with me. Why?
Yeah. Oh, sure. I know
because I shared. I shared something that they didn't want to hear. And these are people that I've known for 40 years.
Yeah, I know.
My siblings, they're like, okay, well, you take care, buddy. So, okay, well, whatever.
Well, they always say you have no proof. It had to be something else. What else?
So then you're calling me a liar, and for whatever reason, you think that I have nothing better to do with my life, that I have this great imagination that I am able to create something that I've never even knew existed, let alone the sound and the whole thing. That to me is crazy. If you think that I have the ability to just make something up like this, okay, then you know, these are the same people that would ask me advice. I mean, look, man, I've had I've built houses. I've been in places and worked and did things. And I was an okay person. Well, Steve's a good guy. What a great guy. Let me start opening up and start talking about things that they don't quite understand, like what happened that night. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden, you've become this. You're their enemy. It's like they change on you so fast.
Oh yeah, you become the threat.
And well, here's another thing that really, really bothers me. There's like two camps. There's anybody that comes out of the military that's talking about this stuff. Every freaking thing they got to say is it's a threat.
Yeah.
And then you have the other side where it's like, well, no, the only threat is human beings. I mean, what other creature would have mass destruction weapons pointed at each other?
Yeah.
And you know, they're not the threat, we're the threat. And I kind of think maybe there's a little bit of both. If you come out of the world of everything is a threat, like it is in military, then maybe that's what you attract. You attract a threat. Yeah. If you come out of different areas where you're a different type of, like a medical or somebody that protects people, and you come out, maybe those are the type of things that you attract. And maybe that's the side of this phenomenon that you're attracted to. I don't know the answers to that. I don't know what happened within that time frame. And I try to reason it with, like, was it 6 hours? How long were you standing there watching the thing? You really don't know. So let's say maybe there's an hour there that I just stood with my head up in the air looking at the ship as it was going away. Okay, we can reason that. Maybe it didn't happen 9:30. I mean, all things pointed to that because that was our habit, our ritual. We had jobs, we had rent to pay, we had car bills. I was working 2 jobs. I mean, I worked at a Home Depot, and then I also had a side job where I drove people to those very airports I told you that I was surrounded by. It wasn't like, we were just hanging out and just, something happened. We had to live life. So my time frame was based on how I was living. But let's say maybe it was a little later because I didn't check the clock to see if it was exactly 9:30. So maybe it was an hour later. So now it's 4 hours. Okay. So what the hell did you do to me for 4 hours? My operation for my back and my leg took 9.5 hours. What the heck did these things, or whatever it was, what did they do for that time frame that it was so important to block it out, but yet leave the rest of it? And that haunts me. I'm haunted by that. It's like I have a terrific memory, and to have something that I can't get to, just it gnaws at my mind that I am not able to piece that together. No, and if I got the answers to it, I mean, I don't know. How do you go about getting somebody to go into your, I thought of, that's why I'm like, do we have people that have these experiences like you were saying? If somebody has the ability to pull this out, I mean, I bet it's going to be something wild. I can only imagine.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And I really want to thank you for putting it all out there and sending us your cell phone footage, which worked really well. Whitley, he told me about his thoughts on the show, and it was one of his favorite because he felt that it was very raw and real, and you were very genuine, and you bring a lot of credibility to us who have these experiences, and for that we thank you very, very much.
Jimmy, thank you so much.
Yeah. And we're
Just
gonna
keep
stay in touch.
just keep in mind, at that time it wasn't planned to give it from the car. My hot water heater popped, so I was like dealing with the insurance company, having all my furniture and stuff moved into a pod, and people, oh, it was a mess, but it ended up working out good. And by the way, that was the 7th try at getting that out. The first couple, and there was one that I stuttered real bad. I didn't understand why, but I finally got it out. But I appreciate it so much. And everybody on here, man, thank you so much for all the kindness and all the kind words. And, keep looking up, and hey, there's no reason why Breaking the Silence cannot be the #1 YouTube channel on this planet, because it should be. Because this is more important than watching a bunch of slobs overeat. And I cannot believe that 500,000 people watch the guy eat an oversized pizza. And we're being told by so many people how our lives are being changed from visitors from,
Wherever.
and opening up to. Yeah.
Well, you are now, I think, up to 21,000 views. You've kind of broken a new record to get that many, and in such a short period of time. We, at the very beginning of this whole process, our first show got over 100,000 views in 1 week. But we later found out that that's because YouTube was really promoting the channel, being a new channel, and they have since. Whitley uses the term ghosting, and basically they don't recommend you that much. So the views we are getting are all on our own. Nobody's and YouTube is recommending it. It's strictly coming from word of mouth and people who take the channel seriously and appreciate it for its honesty. And they don't look for it for entertainment. They look towards it for knowledge and connection with people who genuinely have these experiences, such as yourself. And we are so grateful for that.
Well, let's break it, man. Hit those buttons, share, get people the knowledge, and help Steve and everybody out. Smash it, man. It's the only way. Don't let them stop us. You can't let them stop them. Don't give in.
We won't. All right, Stephen. We love you, man.
All right. Love you guys. Thanks so much.
We'll be in touch. And thank you, everyone that was here tonight. And we love you very, very much.